What's good, everybody? It's Batman, and we're going to be checking out another video from New Horizons. So it's going to be pretty goated. I actually really am intrigued from the title. It's very different as well, so it's kind of like a Naruto analysis type of video. And it's titled, ranking the HOKAGE politically, which is really interesting. So basically, it could depend on what direction he's going to rank, the HOKAGE politically, because obviously politics is extremely controversial and contentious to begin with. But so we'll see where he's going in the line of direction of reasoning, you name it. But I'm assuming, he's going to be talking about basically how they all did overall when it came to politics and, and trying to keep things peaceful, you name it, the whole 9 yards, etc. And kind of go from there. Now, I'm going to be 100% with you and be completely honest. If I had to say, as of now, just from my current knowledge and memories, who politically did the best, okay, I would say, I'd say either Hashirama, and based on what we do know, okay, who would be able to be the best overall, if they were all alive forever, I would probably give that to Minato then, if I'm being really honest with you, or Kakashi, but if I had to pick over the other, Minato first, then Kakashi. But if we're talking about feats alone, what we do know, what we have seen so far overall, Minato's obviously in the worst position for that because, let's be real, he kind of dies immediately. And then I would probably either give that to Hashirama or Kakashi. Okay. And I don't really know that much about Boruto Kakashi when he was at Hokage. So I don't really remember all his feats and stuff like that or whatever you name it. And this was 3 years ago. So I don't even know when the fuck Boruto even started or how long that was. So there's only so much you can kind of get from that. So unless there's some novel shit, or maybe it was kind of shown the beginning of Boruto or whatever, then he could probably present that lot of evidence or whatever. But if either way, it's the Kakashi wins or Hashirama wins, because Hashirama at the bare minimum, he was able to keep the peace between all the nations, give all the tailed beasts, to each nation just to keep the peace or whatever, and then obtain profit at the same time, and then was able to formulate even shinobi systems, you name it, and kind of organize and go that route and unite clans, you name it, and stop wars, the whole 9 yards. So Hashirama made a tremendous amount of fucking progress and literally originated a lot of politics. You know what I mean? So you name it, and just those type of systems. So, if we're talking about in that route, I would say probably Hashirama, unless Boruto Kakashi did some crazy shit that I just don't know about, but it is what it is. So we'll kind of leave it there. Tobirama was the worst, in my opinion. He just made things a million times worse. And Orochimaru even exposed him for that and explained that as well during the war arc. So, all right, let's get it. Let's see what he has to say.
Ranking the Hokage, and I won't be ranking them by strength, but how good of leaders they are. And basically, I'm just going to evaluate what they did as a leader and go over their accomplishments and faults. And just by the way, I'm not going to be ranking Danzo in this video because he was only interim Hokage, and if I'm being honest, he would just be last anyway. So at number 7, I have the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. Okay. And he also taught the 5th Hokage. And he was Hokage for about 50 years, and that makes him the longest tenured Hokage. Some background on him would be that he was appointed Hokage during the First Great Shinobi War. The second Hokage, Tobirama, had led a group consisting of Hiruzen and Danzo and some others. And after being surrounded by the Kinkaku and Ginkaku force, he asked for a volunteer to distract the enemy while their team got away. Hiruzen actually offered, but Tobirama said that he was too young to be the sacrifice, and Tobirama decided to be the sacrifice. But Hiruzen's offer kind of solidified Tobirama's choice as Hiruzen for his successor. Now, if we look at his resume, he led the Leaf Village through the first 3 Great Ninja Wars, and the Leaf Village won in all 3 wars. So I have to give him some serious props for that. But in the third Great Shinobi War, Hiruzen used child soldiers in the war. And the 5 great villages were in a weakened state at this time, and their manpower was down. But I just think that resulting to using child soldiers is a negative and pretty low. And on top of that, I don't think he really wanted to do that, but Danzo and the elders pressured him into it, which seems to be a theme in his career. Another negative would be that he let Danzo have political power for decades and let him create the Root. Yep. Now, the Root was the Anbu Black Ops section that was completely and utterly loyal to Danzo, and they really gave him a lot of political power. But anyway, Danzo also blamed the Nine Tails attack on the Uchiha and kind of
Yeah,
alien.
the fact that Hiruzen even allowed Danzo to do all the bullshit he did. Just so much. Everything when they hit Rain Village with Hanzo, everything with Orochimaru and Kabuto, working with Orochimaru, secretly, you name it. Even letting Orochimaru do whatever the fuck he wanted, like how he basically handled Naruto's life and, how everybody interacted with him in the village, which that's not what Minato wanted. The amount of pain and bullshit he had to go through. Like, I'm sorry, but Hiruzen just did really shit as a fucking Hokage, in my opinion. He did the best he could, if we're giving him some benefit of the doubt. And, and at the end of the day, he did have really good intentions. He was a pure-hearted person. But it was just the way he went about things. It was just so stupid. It was ineffective. It was dumb. Very emotional, very... I don't know. Very, definitely pretty shit, in my opinion. Definitely say that. But what I will say, but see, that's like ranking like in performance of like what they could do like overall. And if we're talking about like politics, like which is literally the title of the video, ranking the Hokage politically, then I don't know. I'd say Tobirama probably would be in this spot because his brother kind of set everything up perfectly and great and everything in incredible directions. And, and then he just like racially profiled the Uchiha and kind of fucked up with all that stuff and made it a million times worse, you name it, etc. I'm not going to go into detail, but it's literally stated verbatim and explained by Orochimaru. Okay. And then like he just he set up so many issues, you know what I mean? He set up so many issues for the third Hokage to eventually take the mantle of and just go from there. And the third Hokage obviously just let it get worse and worse and worse instead of fixing the issues. You know what I mean? So if anything, I'd say the second Hokage, was kind of shit, in that whole aspect. And he was even shit enough to the where he was like killed in action as well. While at least Hiruzen could survive and be in the wars and win them all. So like, I don't know, like Tobirama was kind of shit in that area. But then again, Tobirama was really smart and good and like the income, financial aspects of things. So, you know what I mean? Like, it was Tobirama's idea to obtain profit from even giving away the Biju to begin with. Things like that. And there were many things that he at least, kind of either exploited or really performed well, in my opinion, when it came to certain political things. So, like Hiruzen and Tobirama are kind of neck to neck, in my opinion. If I had to pick one over the other, if I had to, I'd say Tobirama, because he was the start and fault for a lot of things. And Hiruzen kind of was given all the bullshit that he caused and had to figure it out. And, you know what I mean? Like, let's say Hiruzen was able to, like, start from scratch and start over, or at least be given what the first Hokage was able to at least start. I do think Hiruzen would have did better. You know what I mean? That's just me, though. Because even Hiruzen was really, like, similar to Hashirama, to, like, respect the Uchiha, to not be racist, blah, blah, and to give them the respect and courtesy they deserve and the love that they deserve. That we're all family, no matter what, and to stop being paranoid or to think, or to just still consider them as a threat and blah, blah, the whole 9 yards, So that's just me, though,
Alienated them from the village, and this made relations with them much worse, and it led to a point where the Uchiha had to be massacred. And this was because Danzo continually ruined relations with the Uchiha, and Hiruzen just didn't do anything to stop it, really. Danzo also...
Yeah, but that was Tobirama's fault, though. You can't really put that in... Like, don't get me wrong, correct. Hiruzen didn't do anything like to stop it or whatever, or he was kind of clueless, whatever. He didn't want anything bad to happen. He had good intentions, but he didn't do nothing. He couldn't execute anything, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like even implied, like when all the Hokage are brought back, to when like Hiruzen kind of takes full responsibility, blah, blah, and blaming himself. And then Minato's like, no, it's not your fault. If I didn't die so young and I was alive, we probably could have been able to prevent all these things and things that have been way better off, So kind of narratively giving an indication that Minato would have been able to make things really well and fixed all the issues. So that is, no matter what, it is what it is. Like, yeah, it wasn't Hiruzen's fault. He didn't start all whatever, blah, blah. But he had the ability to make it right, and he couldn't do that. So I get what he's saying in the direction, but then again, you know, I don't know. You guys get what I'm saying. It's complicated. It's very complex, you know. But let me know what you think down below with all that.
Orochimaru and supported his human experimentation. And even Orochimaru killed 50 children trying to test out Hashirama cells for Danzo. And on top of that, Danzo only wanted Hashirama cells for the Sharingan he collected from the Uchiha massacre.
Yep.
And Hiruzen was completely unaware of this, but letting Danzo remain in power for this long allowed for this to happen. My final example would be from when Neji's father died, and the circumstances that led up to it. Now, the Hidden Cloud had tried to kidnap Hinata when she was very young, and her father discovered the kidnapper rather instantly, and instantly killed him. Now, the Cloud had the audacity to demand the Hidden Leaf to send them the head of Hinata's father, Hiashi. Now, for some reason, Hiruzen just decided they would just have to comply with that demand to avoid war. And even if the Hidden Cloud were completely serious, he could have easily convinced the other three great nations to attack the Cloud with them and divide up the land because they would just crush them.
Yep.
And I don't think that the proposal
Or
is too
just like even like reach out to the Sand because they had an alliance and everything. But like, hey, like the Lightning, they're trying to start some fuck shit. You know what I mean? They started shit first and causing problems, and now they're making demands. Like, if you don't listen, we'll go to war. Well, it is some bullshit. Can you guys kind of help us out into where they'll basically back off and kind of, you know, pull like a bluff or whatever on them, which is 100% possible because the Sand Village did aid the Hidden Leaf against the Cloud Village, okay? Not the Cloud Village, the Earth Village, okay, the Sisakage Village, where they were starting some fuck shit, and the Sand Village was in unison and teaming up with the Hidden Leaf and be like, hey, you sure you guys want to go to war and fuck with us? And they conceded and backed off. So that was 100% possible. So he has a good point, absolutely. Very fucking stupid.
Far-fetched, and it's certainly a better option than just obeying their insane commands. Hiruzen decided that the only way to avoid war was to use Hiyashi's head, and Neji's father, who was actually Hiyashi's twin brother, decided to volunteer instead, and that led to Neji's father's death. Hiruzen did lead the Leaf to 3 straight victories in Great Shinobi Wars, but he was not a very strong leader, and this created some problems for the village. He really let Danzo and the elders bully him into whatever decisions they wanted to make, and he definitely had some great intentions, but his leadership skills were just not strong enough to implement them. At number 6, I have the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze, and he was the father of the 7th Hokage and the teacher of the 6th. And I feel like some people are going to disagree with Hiruzen being lower than Minato, so I'd like to address that. Minato was only Hokage for about 2 years, so that does make him hard to rank, but he has one major accomplishment. He did decide to steal the Nine Tails into Naruto, and this is because the 5 great nations need to keep a balance between the tailed beasts, because otherwise they'll just rage war on one another. So Minato decided to take a huge gamble and almost ruin his own son's life so that war could be avoided. And one day Naruto even became the savior and brought peace to the world. So this gamble paid off, and Naruto unified the 5 great nations years later. Minato also didn't let other ninjas affect his decision because he set up a barrier to prevent them from interfering. And I feel like if Hiruzen was in this situation, he would probably talk it out and then make the wrong decision because he'd be peer pressured. So I feel like this is a sign of Minato being a strong leader. Overall, Minato sacrificed his life to stop a world war and is indirectly responsible for world peace years later. But his term was so short that there are no other positives or negatives on his resume.
Sax is for going out.
So the Minato thing is pretty straightforward. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, the only thing you could add on to that was the whole, you know, Minato basically saying whatever, blah, blah, that if he was still alive, everything would have been fine, whatever, yada, yada. And you can use it as like a narrative, you know, argument that if he was still around, whatever, blah, blah. But then again, we don't know, and that's him believing that that was what would happen. And you name it. So, like, obviously when it comes to that, you know, appeal to emotion, you name it, blah, blah, whatever. You know what I mean? Or it could just be an argument from ignorance, you know. Regardless, either way, we just don't know. You know what I mean? We don't know. So now, if you count the filler arcs with Naruto, where it shows Minato as the Hokage, you name it, everything does get good to where the Uchiha clan are not annihilated, and everything is tremendously way better. So Kishimoto does provide narrative evidence, not only in the manga, but in the anime as well, and kind of even elaborates further of what the difference is, or what if Minato and Kushina were still alive, basically. So you can use that if you want to as well, and that would obviously definitely make him scale higher than Hiruzen when it comes to political, aspects and whatnot. So there's nothing wrong with it. Either way, it's definitely understandable to have Minato at least above Hiruzen.
5, I have the 6th Hokage, Kakashi Hatake, and he was the student of the 4th and the teacher of the 7th. And he was a Hokage for about 10 years, and he became Hokage after the 4th Great Ninja War. Now, Kakashi didn't really have to deal with any problems in the village. In fact, I can't even name one. But he did do a lot of good in one area, and that would be that he urbanized the Leaf. I mean, look at the Leaf Village in Part 2 versus Boruto. It has exponentially gotten more modern. Compared to Hiruzen, Kakashi doesn't have nearly as many negatives, and comparing him to Minato, it's kind of hard because Minato only did one thing. But I think that this urbanization plus is actually pretty underrated. All of this technological advantages has led to things like prosthetic legs being made for dogs in Boruto, and ninja tools are also a big benefit to your military. Now, I really don't like how there are ninja tools being written into Boruto. I just don't like it. But it does benefit society greatly, and he also has maintained peace with the other 4 Kages and their villages. Overall, Kakashi hasn't really had to lead the Leaf through any controversy, but he has greatly improved the average life of everyone in the Hidden Leaf Village. At number 4, I have the 7th Hokage, Naruto Uzumaki, and he was the son of the 4th and student of the 6th. And he was appointed about 4 years before the events of Boruto, so at the time I'm recording this video, he's only been Hokage for about 4 years. And he also hasn't had to lead the Leaf through too much controversy, but he does have a few accomplishments. He did unify the 5 great villages enough that they all had a joint tuning exam in the Leaf Village, and this is the first time that this has ever happened. And the main reason this was done was because there are less and less children trying to become ninja in Boruto. But besides that, Naruto is even able to convince the other Kage to do it in the Leaf of all places. You would think that they would at least want it in their own village, but they all trusted Naruto enough that they would put it in the Leaf, and I feel like that's an accomplishment. I won't spoil the manga, but there are some other instances where Naruto convinces the other Kage to do what he wants, and Naruto has led the Leaf through some controversy. Overall, he's had a short term, but he's been a great diplomat and leader for the village, and he also has supported Ninja Tech, which does good things like give prosthetic legs to dogs. At number 3, I have the 5th Hokage.
So I'll be honest, I don't really care too much about Naruto and Kakashi. Because for one, I don't really have knowledge. 2, there's only so much I can go off from what I've currently seen so far, you name it. So, with basically, with the arguments that he gave for Kakashi, blah, blah, like, it's fine. It makes sense, but then again, you could easily say the same for Naruto, though, because we technically are not shown that Kakashi is the reasoning for all that. So we know Kakashi becomes the Hokage towards the end of Shippuden, like right after the war concludes. You know what I mean? So we don't know if the village even developed that far or not, and all that stuff came about around that time. We just don't know. Like, unless it's in the novels or whatever, you name it, whatever, something that I just don't know about or that he's going off from, then sure, but he didn't really show any evidence or show that Kakashi was the start of it all. So that can easily be, applied for Hokage Naruto, or basically, more than likely, possibility-wise, that Naruto was the reason that all is even happening to begin with, and why it was all accepted. And the whole ninja tools and all that was brought to Naruto's attention, but he denied it. He said, no, I don't want that, blah, blah, you name it, etc. Okay, so it wasn't because of Naruto or Kakashi, technically. They just made that shit and wanted to. You know what I mean? It's just the human race being really intelligent and, evolving and be coming up with stuff and whatnot. So, I don't know. Like, all that's really contentious. I'm going to be honest with you, blah, blah, you name it. Now, either way, it is what it is. I don't know. Like I said, those two to kind of compare is really weird. If I had to pick whatever, I'd still say I'd say the opposite. I'd say Kakashi. Um, you know what I mean? Like Kakashi should be in the Naruto spot, and Naruto should be in Kakashi's spot. You know, if we're being real, because Kakashi kind of got everything prepped for Naruto and got everything going in a good direction and kept the peace still. And then when Naruto eventually got it, like, yeah, he was able to get the Kage to unite and whatever, blah, blah, for the exams. But then again, you're talking about a guy that saved the fucking world. Like, he saved the entire world. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm pretty sure anybody's going to have the uttermost respect for Naruto or just, you know, fuck with the guy. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so I don't know. I don't think that's really too impressive as a feat, but, or whether if that could even be considered a feat for Naruto, because that could have just been them wanting to do it either way, you know? So, regardless, like, I don't know. You know, and Boruto obviously hasn't finished. There's not even Shippuden Boruto, you know what I mean? So, like, we don't really know everything with what Naruto could be able to do politically. And from what I've seen so far, and for what, you know, is going to be coming towards the future, because everybody says, like, shit gets crazy and crazy, Naruto doesn't do that great politically, unfortunately. He really doesn't, you know? For what I've heard and what I'm seeing so far, if I'm being honest with you. So, you know, I think Kakashi definitely deserves to be in the position that Naruto's in. And, like, just vice versa the other way around. I don't think that's correct. Naruto should be higher. But that's just me.
Hokage Tsunade, and she was the granddaughter of the first Hokage and student of the third. And she took over office after the third Hokage died and served for about 4 years. And she had to deal with a lot of controversy, but during all that, she remained a strong leader. Initially, she didn't want to be Hokage, but after Naruto and Jiraiya begged her, she eventually had an epiphany and decided to return to the Leaf Village and become Hokage. And compared to the third Hokage, she was much more busy and swamped with paperwork, and Hiruzen honestly just chilled out in the office and just walked around the Leaf Village in part 1. And I guess after 50 years, you just get an excuse. But Tsunade's not quite as smart as Hiruzen, so I think that's more plausible. Anyway, this is one of Tsunade's few negatives because she was always busy in the Leaf, so that kind of shows that they were always behind. I think her biggest accomplishment was standing up to Danzo and the village elders. Hiruzen seemed to always cave to them and do what they want while Tsunade stood up
for sure.
When Pain invaded the Leaf Village, the elders told her to not call back Naruto to fight Pain. Tsunade literally picked them up by their shirts and told them off.
Yeah, like, if she didn't get Naruto to come back or whatever, blah, blah, like, now mind you, Naruto would have came back regardless, okay? Because, you know, we see what happens. Danzo kills the frog and stops it from happening to begin with. But either way, like, let's say that never happened and even Danzo was like, whatever, fine. Naruto would have came and that obviously would have been a huge benefit. And it actually would have prevented a lot of things to happen to where, like, chaotic Shinra Tensei wouldn't have happened yet because he would have been summoned immediately instead of being summoned, like, many chapters afterwards, you know what I mean? Because they realized that the frog was killed, like, after a good amount of time passed. You know what I mean? So it would have been helpful because then Naruto could have been able to show up and work with everybody to fight Pain, you name it. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you, though. Technically, it might have actually probably made things worse because if Pain still decided to do chaotic Shinra Tensei, okay, if a normal chaotic Shinra Tensei could be enough to fuck up Sageman Naruto, you know what I mean? Like, a chaotic should definitely be able to do enough damage to one-shot Naruto or immobilize him, you know what I mean? If a basic one can one-shot all the frogs and break all their bones in their body, there's no way you're going to say a chaotic Shinra Tensei can't fucking hurt Naruto or even potentially one-shot him, you know what I mean? While a basic one could beat his ass and hurt him, you know what I mean? And fold him and win the fight. So, overall, like, you know, it would have technically ended a lot more worse technically and been more beneficial to Pain, but in the politics side of things, would have been really good and really great. Especially in comparison with Hiruzen, where he always just cowered down to either Danzo or fucking the elders, you know, always.
And they actually apologized to her. If Hiruzen was in that situation, he'd probably just talk it out and then just say, yeah, we're not going to bring Naruto back. She took control of the Leaf during a time of chaos. I mean, the third Hokage had just been assassinated after a 50-year term. Most people probably only grew up knowing the third Hokage, with an exception of Minato for 2 years. But on top of that, the Leaf was short of ninja after Orochimaru's attack. But besides that, she was able to stabilize the Leaf Village in less than 3 years. She also led the Leaf through the Fourth Great Ninja War, and even though she wasn't super responsible for the win, the Leaf still won. And on top of that, she was able to rebuild the Leaf Village after Pain completely destroyed it. And when I say completely destroyed it, the Leaf Village was actually a crater.
Yamato did that though, not her. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know about giving that to her, but
And I would say only a few months later it was completely rebuilt, so I have to give her some serious props for that. Overall, Tsunade had a pretty short and hectic term, but she was able to accomplish a lot, and she kept the Hidden Leaf Village together during some of its hardest times. At number 2, I have the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, and he is the brother of the second Hokage and grandfather of the fifth, and really the teacher of the third. But it's hard to say how long he served because knowledge of this period is pretty limited. Anyway, I would compare him to a George Washington type because they both helped unify and lead a
This
country
man,
during its early
that's crazy that he's gonna have Toby Rama as number 1. It's crazy.
years, and they aren't necessarily known much for their policies. Before the Hidden Leaf Villages formed, there was mostly just clans at constant war with each other, and Hashirama was able to convince most of those clans around him to form the Leaf Village together. Now, I know that Hashirama is exponentially more powerful than all of those other clans, so that might have given him some leverage, but he was even able to convince the Senju's biggest rival, the Uchiha, to join the Leaf. Madara Uchiha is one of the most stubborn characters in the series, but even Hashirama was able to convince him. Then again, this was after an Uchiha defeat, but I have another counter argument to that. After an Uchiha defeat, Madara told Hashirama that the only way to have peace would be for either Hashirama or his brother Tobirama to die. This is because Madara's brother Izuna was killed by Tobirama in battle, and Hashirama was actually about to kill himself to create peace before Madara stopped him. Now, if I'm being honest, it really looked like Hashirama was about to stab himself in the balls to create peace, so I would consider that even more of a positive, but in the end it shows how devoted he was to creating peace. Anyway, he oversaw the building of the Leaf Village and probably supplied all the wood for that building. And shortly after the Leaf Village was built, the other villages started to form, and 4 other Hokage emerged. And all of these Kage wanted to fight each other almost instantly, for land and power. But Hashirama was able to talk them down and at least delay the first Great Shinobi War for a little bit. He even gave the other countries tailed beasts to maintain a power balance. And if we're being honest, this would be like America giving the USSR nukes during the Cold War. I think I've proven my point, how devoted Hashirama is to peace. Overall,
Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I totally disagree with Tobirama being number 1. So I'm very intrigued to see what he's going to say for the guy. But you got to remember, like I said, guys, Hashirama was the origin of everything. He was the reason why the politics systems even came to be. You know what I mean? Why villages even came to be. Why wars didn't have to happen anymore. He united all the clans. He made it possible for kids to grow up and not die and learn and have education, name it, etc. Like, he started it all. He came up with the idea. Him and Madara, technically, okay? So, like, he came up with all those ideas, enforced all those ideas, made it happen, you name it, okay? And Tobirama was kind of there along the way to kind of be his advisor and kind of guide him if he ever needed any assistance or whatever, or, fact check him if need be. Things like that. But, like, Hashirama was no joke. I do believe, he's kind of the guy that definitely deserved to be number 1 for the political aspect of things. Tobirama just made things escalate so much worse than they needed to be. I mean, there were certain good things he did politically wise, but like he made a lot of problems. He made a lot of problems for future references, and basically gave all those burdens to Hiruzen, and then Hiruzen fucking epically failed to even handle all those burdens and problems. And it was just domino effect from everything. Orochimaru blatantly roasts him and exposes him for all the shit he did, of all the problems it caused. You know what I mean? Meaning, therefore, like, all the stuff with Madara, with Sasuke, the Uchiha clan, you name it, the whole fucking 9 yards, even fucking Obito, all that could have been highly, tremendously prevented if Tobirama was able to just do things or work politically in certain ways to just make things more beneficial or better, whatever, or keep the peace. Hashirama was definitely the best, and it came to keeping the peace, you name it, etc. Tobirama failed in so many categories. I'm dead ass being honest with you, you know? So, I don't know about all that. I do believe Tobirama should be way fucking higher. Way higher. Sorry.
Hashirama was the X factor when it came to starting the Leaf Village, and even inspired the rest of the ninja world to form villages too. And he also helped maintain world peace, at least for a little bit, when the other Kage were so ready to go to war with each other. At number 1, I have the second Hokage, Tobirama Senju, and he was the brother of the first Hokage and teacher of the third. And it's not quite clear how long he served, but it was probably about 10 years. Besides that, he created many things in the Leaf Village, and he was a strong leader. Tobirama was Hashirama's right-hand man while he was Hokage, and when it was Tobirama's turn, he got a lot accomplished. He created the Chunin exams, the Ninja Academy, and the Anbu Black Ops, and all 3 of those things are still being used in the Boruto era, which is about 80 years in the future. The Chunin exams were adopted by the other villages because they were so successful. And he also created the Kona police force, and this helped ease the delicate relationship with the Uchiha, at least for a little while. The police force ended when the Uchiha massacre occurred. I don't really know why it wasn't remade. I mean, it would be pretty hard to enforce any laws without the police. Anyway, he created many institutions that would be used for decades in the Leaf, and even the Chunin exams were used by other villages. Overall, Tobirama created many institutions and jutsus that greatly benefited the Leaf in the world. And he also helped Leaf get built.
It fucked up the world. It made it tremendously worse. His Edo Tensei was even thrown in his face for him, like that he should have never made it. Like Hashirama literally roasts him and says like why did you do that? Like, this is why I told you not to, blah blah. You name it, the whole 9 yards. Like Tobirama was literally like the number one, many reasons of why the world even ended up the way it did. You know what I mean? Like he made a lot of issues. So definitely disagree with that. Absolutely not. Now, when it comes to the police stuff, I'll give him that. That's a good point. But then again, yeah, the police is a good idea. Incredible, right? But the way he went about it and did it was the fucking problem. You know? And Orochimaru explains and puts him on blast for that, you know? So it's like, I don't know, bro. Like, he didn't know how to execute, you know what I mean, certain ideas that he enforced for political reasons, etc. And the execution was the main problematic aspect of it. And if it was anybody else like Minato or Hashirama, things like that, you know, or even Tsunade, it would have been tremendously, a million times fucking better. A million times. You know, Hiruzen and Tobirama were by far the fucking worst.
And he really did build the modern Leaf Village with how many institutions he made, and really continued what Hashirama started. Anyway, I think that's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave
so we'll end the video. It was a good video. You know, it was really, really good. I'll give my final thoughts and opinions overall. So, either way, you know, if I had to change his ranking, I guess, for the video, Tobirama's number 7. Hiruzen's number 6. Kakashi, Naruto would be 5. Kakashi would be 4. And then 3 would be, wait, I'm over here tripping. Minato would be, I'd say Minato would be, I'll say Tsunade is 3, Minato is 2, Hashirama is 1. That'll basically be my ranking. So Tobirama, Hiruzen, Naruto, Kakashi, Tsunade, Minato, and then Hashirama. That's basically where I would go. I truly do believe that's the actual correct order when it comes like the political scaling, political side of things, you name it, etc. And like I said, I've already given my reasonings. Like Tobirama was the main reason for all the fucking issues and problems in the world. You know, and he was literally put on blast and roasted for it and exposed for it by Orochimaru and Hashirama. And if he never did all those things and the way he executed the certain, you know, ideas and political, you know, plans that he came up with, the world would have never ended up the way it did, you know? It's, you know, it never happened with Hashirama when he was the Hokage, but when Tobirama becomes the Hokage, now we got fucking problems, you know? The only really good thing he ever came up with was the whole police, police organization type thing to build. That was smart, you know, there needs to be law and order. But then again, the way he went about that was not great, and that was even explained in verbatim in Naruto during the war arc. So, like, I don't know, like, he was just a reason for many, many fucking problems. And then obviously here is in 6th place, he didn't know what the fuck to do with all these burdens and problems that were mainly caused by the second Hokage, and he just failed miserably to solve it, and instead he escalated it and made it get worse, or let it get worse, you know what I mean, for many fucking shit, so Hiruzen was no better, you know what I mean, like, he was basically given all the problems and he couldn't fucking do anything, while Tobirama at least created all the problems and started it, So that's my line of reasoning. You know what I mean? And either way, I already explained with the whole Boruto thing with Kakashi and Naruto. Tsunade, she did a great job, blah, blah, whatever. But, the reason why I would still put Minato above her is because, Kishimoto does give many narrative implications that if he was alive and around, things would have been really, really good. You know what I mean? Everything would have been great with the Uchiha. There would have been no bad, no nothing. Orochimaru would have been doing the shit he was doing. Naruto would have had an incredible life, and the village would have respected him, blah, blah, you name it. Everything would have been great. It would have been all freaking fantastic, incredible, and it was stated by several characters that Minato was like the child of prophecy, the one and only to be the savior of the world, to be the light, to light up the darkness, or cut up the darkness, he's the light. So, it was just so many narrative implications that he was just that guy, for political means, power itself, you name it, So overall, I'm just going to put it there. And then obviously, for at least for what we can go off, feats alone and etc., if he never put the Nine Tails in Naruto, everybody would have fucking died, So that was incredible. A very extremely important political decision he made to put the Nine Tails in the Naruto, and obviously to give someone the power to be able to fight against Obito to stop him, okay, and then just everything, with him being Hokage, kind of how he, the way he would approach things and make things better, etc. He just did a great job. Even with Kakashi, how he was trying to help Kakashi channel his grief and depression and PTSD and anger and you name it, Minato did a really, really good job. He really did. So, and also was, even as a kid, was able to save Kushina. Okay, save her from a fucking rogue foreign, enemy shinobi. While Hiruzen did fucking nothing. It was oblivious to what was even going on. It would have been really bad if Kushina was kidnapped and taken. I don't remember the reasoning why she was being kidnapped, you name it, but I think it was for her to become a Jinchuriki. I can't remember. But either way, Minato. So Minato's he's just that fucking guy. And then obviously Hashirama. He's the start of everything. Of all the political ideas, you name it, none of this would ever came to be if it wasn't for Hashirama, So if we're talking about all of them in comparison, got to give that to Hashirama, definitely number one, if anything, Hashirama would be the George Washington, in my opinion, So, but either way, you guys let me know what you think. Make sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below. Let me know who you think politically ranks the highest out of everything they did, performance and feats-wise, and I'm just curious. Subscribe for more content. Subscribe guys to the channel. Peace.